What's up, y'all? It's Mar.
It's Tony.
And you're watching Need to Know. Today we're talking on closure, psychoanalysis, and suppressed feelings. I'm pretty sure we've all, like as adults now, we've had relationships that, didn't end on good terms, or maybe it did.
Define closure.
Define closure?
Yes. Define closure.
It's basically it's like the ending of a chapter or a book. Like you kind of closing that relationship, but you kind of need that, like, you don't necessarily need it, but it's like a talk or just saying everything that happened, like how do we move forward from here, and kind of like ending the relationship, like making it known that, okay, this is the end, like nothing else is gonna happen.
In my opinion, when it comes to closure, I think it means like getting the end result, or like he said, talking everything out and like acknowledging or coming to terms with what happened.
So you feel it necessarily needs to be a conversation?
If closure is necessary, sometimes I don't think it's a necessity or it's necessary to have closure.
You think that it needs to be right when it ends, or can it be later down in the line? Can you maintain your own closure and still be able to have closure with that person later on down the line?
Yeah.
I feel like in the heat of the moment, it's kind of hard to have closure just because all the emotions are like riled up. So you kind of you don't have time to think about everything and like come back on a simpler term. You're just kind of like angry, or depending on how it ends, but it's usually, you don't have time to think. So you just do right then and there, and then it usually ends up not really closing. I feel like closure is usually more on good terms, or even if it ended on bad terms in the beginning.
You just contradicted yourself.
Nah, I'm saying, like, to me, more times than not, if you're having closure with somebody, it's always gonna end on like this is a simplified, nice way of just going separate.
Does it always happen that way?
Nah, sometimes you could have that intention and y'all see each other and it's just like, yo, fuck this nigga, bro. Like, but at the same time, like, the intention of closure is to kind of have that separation, like.
Yeah, kind of like coming to terms with what happened. So, every situation is different. If it was extremely bad, like I said, everybody's different. So the way you handle a situation, like fight or flight, if something ended bad in that relationship per se, like me, I just wouldn't, it is what it is. The actions already provided the closure for me. You get what I'm saying? But if you guys didn't end on like, bad terms and it was okay, then I feel like, closure, it's fine to have closure because it wasn't extremely bad.
What is the average time you feel is to receive this closure?
I think if it was a good relationship, I'd say like a couple of weeks. I wouldn't let it go too far, like a year or something. That's a little OD for a good term. If it was a bad term and it needed closure, I'll give it some time, like a couple months. Just because I feel like when a bad relationship ends, you could go 2 weeks and still see that person and still like all that emotions is just there. Like, I think you need like a significant amount of time to like move on with your life and actually forget about that person. Not forget, but kind of let the emotions die down before you actually like think about it and just say, okay, like, let's just end things now.
Closure, I think, a couple months should do justice. If it was a good relief, if it ended on okay terms. Bad terms though, tough. Could go my whole life. That's just me.
For your last relationship, did you guys maintain closure? Did you receive that closure? How long did it take to get that closure? Do you need closure also? Do you need closure? Is your closure personal, or is it you need somebody to tell you that you need to have that like interaction with them? So,
oh no, I know when it's over. Like, if it's over, I know.
No.
You could know that it's over, right? But you still need to have some type of acknowledgement. For example, like how you're saying you don't need to have this conversation, I was like that. But then when I received it from one particular person, I was like, wow, I didn't know that this was something that was necessary for me. You understand?
Okay.
So it's like, does it need to, I moved on, we both moved on from that relationship, but he didn't need that conversation, but I needed that conversation for me.
But you didn't realize you needed it.
And I didn't realize that I needed it.
That's okay.
So having that conversation was like, oh wow, like these are things that were said that needed to be answered.
Okay, makes sense.
Was that something that you guys needed in a particular relationship?
In my last one, I would say yeah, even though I still didn't get the answers. I kind of knew going into the relationship it was a bad move, but I did it anyways. And then when things ended on like a confusing note, I was still lost. Like, yo, what happened? Like, did I do something wrong? But at that time, I was already like upset at how it ended, and so I didn't feel like I needed it because I was just like fuck her, like. And so I moved on. But when I guess we talked like a year later, and like we talked and it was like friendly because at that point, like I wasn't really like angry at her no more. Like I didn't really care. But after we talked, it kind of brought back the confusing moments again. Like, why are we talking? Like, you're not answering the questions. It's like, yo, I wasn't mad at you, but after we had the conversation, I'm mad again. I still didn't get the closure, and on top of that, like it's like, what was the point? It kind of made me question all over again, like, why did I even date you in the first place?
Well, for me, my last relationship, I'm a big advocate for actions speak louder than words. So if I'm seeing, if I'm on my end, I'm a big communicator. Like I like to talk things out, but the other person, it was tough for them to navigate, their words in terms of how they feel. So that eventually shows in your actions, and I wasn't feeling it. Like, but you're not trying to talk. It doesn't seem like you want to talk. Maybe you do, but you were just acting very nonchalant about certain situations. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, I see everything I needed to know. So, I mean, that right there was the closure I needed. That gave me all the answers. Like, so if you don't care and you're showing that you don't care, then that's it. That's what it is.
How do you guys feel about suppressed feelings?
No, what do you mean suppressed feelings? Is it like, they're purposely like holding it back because they might not know how to?
So I'm gonna do both definitions. So repressed emotions refer to emotions that you unconsciously avoid. Suppression can sometimes be a good short-term solution as long as you make sure to address those emotions sooner rather than later. So you're basically avoiding your emotions for a certain period of time. People usually don't say it for a long period of time rather than for a short period of time. So for example, when you're mad or you're angry or you're upset, like you would suppress your feelings because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Usually that's your reaction. But in reality, you're just never gonna tell them.
In certain instances, I do. Just cause, I don't know, it's weird. Like when I'm angry, it's like my thoughts or my brain like actually thinks smartly. For 1 second, it's just like, yo, you don't want to say that. Even though I want to in that moment, because it's just like, I'm so angry. But at the same time, I know me saying this is going to make things worse. So let me just hold this back for a minute. Even though I really want to tell this to you, but it's like, if I say this, even if let's say you argue and then like a week later, or let's say tomorrow or something, like y'all okay again. But if you had said what you said, this would have lingered a little longer. It might have damage the relationship even more. So for me, I'm like, there's certain times where I'll just lash everything out because I know it's not gonna be that serious in the end. But if I know this situation or what I'm about to say is gonna hurt you that bad, I'll hold it back.
Not me. I'm quite the opposite. You'll see it on my face, what I'm feeling. I'm very big on like talking on how I feel, because I feel like holding back on it, like you said, sometimes you might blow up and you want to be very like emotionally conscious. But I try to remember, as much as it's what you say, it's how you say it, and I'm pretty good at controlling how I say it. So I mean, that's why I think that plays also a big role in how I talk about my feelings. I'm always ready to like let you know, like, you did XYZ and I felt like ABC, you know what I'm saying? So that kind of thing.
True. I feel like it's a good and bad thing to like suppress, because at the same time you're thinking about them, like you don't want to like damage anything, but at the same time you kind of hurting yourself, because if you keep holding it in, eventually you're just gonna like explode, and then it's gonna make things a whole lot worse than it could have been. So.
True. That's why I always say just try to think on how you say it, because maybe some people can't control their mouth and they just start going off, and then that's when things really blow up.
Do you feel like if you say something that like pierces their ego, like, all right, for a girl, guys, we have egos. So do you feel like if you say something that like hurts his ego, it's repairable, or do you feel like there's no coming back from it?
So if I say something like, for instance, sex game is whack.
Yeah, like
I know that'd be personal. That'd be putting a hole right through that ego. But you said if I say that, then what?
Yeah, like is it repair? Like, can you?
Is it repairable?
Like, can a relationship still go? Like,
I mean, I believe it could still go. Like, I'm not gonna be like, yo, your sex game is whack. But I'm be like, I prefer if you do this over that. So, you know, I would try to be nice with it. I wouldn't be like, yo, no, that ass, you're horrible. Like, that's gonna hurt somebody's feelings. But if you like, all right, I kind of like it better if you did this to me instead of that. That way they kind of get the idea that, oh, okay, so I will know next time not to do this, and she don't like that. You know what I'm saying? So something like that.
So yeah. do you feel like men hold their feelings in more or women do?
I feel like men hold their feelings in more only because the way society gives us this idea that, oh, men shouldn't be so open with their feelings and open to talk about it. It's more of a feminine thing, when in actuality, at the end of the day, you're human, you know, you have feelings and it's okay to express them, like, you know? And it just sucks because that's what society makes us think. But I like somebody who's open about their feelings and able to communicate, like, okay, you did this to me and this is how I feel. I don't like it, so can you please change it? I will respect that more at the end of the day than just not hearing anything from you. Because then you're trying to like go around it, you're trying to suppress it for whatever reason, and then I don't think we can grow together as in a relationship. Like it's not gonna work out.
That's true. I mean, I used to be, it's crazy because I'm classified as a sensitive guy, but like when I was younger, it was always hard for me to open up and say what I'm feeling, just because like I guess from a young age, like my father always taught me like, yo, like men don't cry. You hear the phrase, all the phrases that men supposed to be tough and like you just kind of deal with shit yourself. And to be honest with you, like I'm not making excuses for guys, but I feel like a lot of times in relationships, guys don't know how to do that because we were never taught to, or because we were always taught that it was wrong.
Right.
So I feel like a lot of times relationships would go a lot better if a guy just opened up and just said how he felt.
Right.
So, do you psychoanalyze situations? So, are you super fearful? Do you take all the negativity and basically run with it? I feel like that's like the simplest example of that.
Take the negativity from where, like? From
any situation. So, for example, in a relationship, do you think about something bad that's gonna happen all the time? Do you think about something like, for example, if your significant other goes out on a date, like do you think about all the negativity that can happen? So it's like, are they gonna talk to another girl or a guy, or what are they gonna do? Are they flirting with somebody, taking somebody home? Are they this? Are they that? Like,
when I was younger, yes, I used to. I guess that probably falls into trust issues or insecurities, but that's always because I used to. I guess maybe every movie I watched, my family, there was always somebody that was either cheating or somebody that was moving funny. And so when I got into my own relationships, like I never knew what it was like to be in a healthy one. And so I always, every time they would go out with like a friend who's a guy or a guy best friend, I would always look at it weird, like he trying to sleep with you low key. And she'd be like, oh, I'm going out with him. It's like, okay, like put your location on, blah, blah, blah. Like it was weird, but I learned as I got older that I'm creating the same habitats as the families that I've been around or the TV shows that I've been on. Like, I'm only making it worse by thinking the worst, if that makes sense. So I learned to just trust my partner and just like, if they going out, they going out. Like whatever happens, and I kind of learned it from Serena too. It's like, in the end, I can't control what you do. I can only control what I do. So if I trust you enough or if I love you enough, then I know that you're not gonna do anything. And if I so happen to find out that you did something, then you know that's something that I have to deal with. But from that point before, like I have to know that, you know, no matter what, I know you're coming back home to me safe and sound, like nothing's happening. So I just have to trust.
Why do you fear trust? Or why do you think that people fear trust?
It's hard just because, you know, I feel like nowadays healthy relationships are seen as non-existent, like whether through social media, whether through TV.
Normalize cheating.
Yeah, even our families back then, like you always hear like, oh, they've been married for 30 years, but the guy was sleeping with like 3 women or something. Like that story is like told to us so many times so that when you get into your own relationships, like you don't think anything else but that. So even though it's like you want to trust them, like you feel like, oh, they love you and you know, they're not gonna do anything, in the back of your mind and your subconscious, it's like, you kind of think the worst, like, oh, what if they do this? Like, what would I do if they did this? And so I think, nigga, this clip, what? Nah.
So what do you have to say to those who are actually married 30 years and that person cheated on them? They're still together.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like when you're married, it's kind of hard to.
No, it's not. I can leave you just like you. I can leave everybody else.
Yeah,
it's
but then it goes
it's all yeah, but that process is
I can be
bitch.
separated from you. I can this, I can that. If you're, I'm not gonna lie, you can be legally separated from somebody for a certain amount of years. You get divorced just like that.
Yeah, but I mean, divorce is like it involves money, and if you have kids, like the kids have to deal with their parents not being. It's kind of
the only reason why that's a conflict is because people are greedy and petty.
That's true.
Really why that's a conflict.
That's true.
That is the real reason why it's a conflict. It has nothing to do. People envy each other. Like if you fall, usually people get a divorce because they're on bad terms. You know, they don't want to work something out at first. So if you work it out, you can probably get past it. But if you don't want to work it out, it's because usually you can get divorced because, you know, somebody probably cheated, but also because of money, because you have something that they don't have, or they're just tired of dealing with your bullshit. Mm-hmm. So it's like they want to take what you have to get back at you.
Right,
that's really the only reason why divorce is so hard and costs so much money. Because in reality, I could leave you and I don't want anything that you gave me because I have my own things. And that's an independent person, male or female, and they don't think about it that way. So divorce is only that so bad.
I mean, well, yeah, that's the biggest reason, I think. But to a smaller degree, I think a lot of people feel like, you know, the idea of marriage and everything is kind of like you kind of set your life for the rest of your life with that person. So once you separate from them, it's kind of like everything switches. Like, what do I do now? Like, and it's kind of hard to move on to somebody else because you've already gotten to that higher level with that one person that to start from square one again. It's hard to build up knowing that, like, okay, I can move on to the second person and get married again, but then what if they do the same thing? Now it's like, it's a constant pattern of like cheating and dealing with divorce and kids and all that. It's just too much for one person to get so high a level with one person just to start all over again. That's kind of hard to do. So I feel like that's a small reason why people don't get divorced either, because they don't want to start over.
I could tell you a different reason, but
like if I'm like 65 and I divorce, it's like I might get married again.
It's the same thing, but it's the same thing if you lose your partner if they die. Like you eventually have to move on. Like
yeah, but I feel like that's a little different. And some people don't move on.
Yeah, some people don't move on.
I interviewed somebody, this lady, and she was married, and her husband died of cancer, and it took her a while, but she was like, you know what, like I need to move on for me, and that's what her husband said before he died and everything. Yeah. So it took her time to want to be able to do that, but she felt that it was necessary. Mm-hmm. Again, it's everybody's different. Also, you know, you can, if you cared about somebody so much, you probably wouldn't be able to live without them. And that was literally your soulmate. Mm-hmm. You just died from a broken heart.
I don't know why I died from a broken heart.
You know, first of all, we just heard this the other day. Yeah. But no, but that's true. People die because they can't. They just let go. Mm-hmm. They literally let go because they don't want to live without the person that they've been with for their whole life, basically. Yeah. That's somebody's soulmate.
No, I mean it's sad. Yeah, that's like a true love story. But for me, I don't know if I would necessarily die because you died.
That's a very good question. I don't know. Maybe like, you ever heard that everybody has a somebody? I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's true in a sense. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes it doesn't have to be romantic. It probably could be platonic. I feel like it actually might be true that everybody has a somebody. Or that, in terms of romantically speaking, because you said soulmate.
You feel like you have more than one soulmate?
I think so.
I can agree to that. I say that one of my friends is my soulmate because me and her we're like this, and it's like she's my soul. I say that's my soulmate because anything that I can say. We reciprocate a relationship where it's always positive. Mm-hmm. It's nothing like, we're gonna fight and argue, of course, but it's like, it's never bad terms. And if it's bad terms, it's like, you know, we fight, that's it. Like, you know, like a regular relationship. Mm-hmm. But I say that's my soulmate because regardless of whatever situation, we always come back to each other. Right. It's never gonna end. That's why I'm like, that's my soulmate.
No, I feel like everybody has a soulmate. But I don't think in everybody's life you're gonna be tied to your soulmate. I think there's certain times where either one, and it's sad, but you never find that person, or like if you find them and then like they happen to die before you, I don't feel like you should stop your life just because they died. I feel like you're gonna take some time, of course, to like, you know, grieve and, you know, not move on because you're still in love with them. But
once upon a time, you used to, before there was a us, it was a me and a you.
Yeah.
right.
So that's why I feel like it's not impossible, like you said, that, you know, that once they're gone, it's hard to move on, because at the end of the day, you know, there was a time you used to be you without them. So I feel like it's possible you can move on. It's all right.
I mean, they won't be that person. You can never replace that person, but
Right.
to find somebody else to make you at least like 85% happy or something, like, I think that's possible.
Yeah. I didn't even get to answer the thing on trust. What were we talking about with trust? Why do people have trust? No.
Oh yes, I was like, why
fear
do
trust?
people
Do
fear
fear
trust?
I think it's like PTSD, you know? Those who are in war, you know, they're used to all these gun sounds. They're used to having to be on their P's and Q's all the time. So it's like when you're into a different environment, you know, it's hard to navigate because this is what you're used to.
Right.
Relationship-wise, if you've almost every single relationship you've had, it was nothing but toxic. You get into a new one, what are you gonna expect? That's what you're used to. That's what, you know, it's...
You know how good it is.
Exactly. So it's gonna be hard for you to, like, you know, say, okay, in our last relationship and the one before that, they always cheating and was lying to me. So now I gotta keep my eyes open and my third eye, you know, because that's what I'm used to. That's just the routine. As suckish as that is, but that's the reality of it. Like, period.
People don't realize, or I guess guys mostly, when they cheat or they do something that's like detrimental to a relationship, it's not just like the consequence is not just, oh, we break up. It's more of you subconsciously not break her down. I don't want to say it like that, but in the back of her mind, like, it's gonna make future guys, for her to bond with them a little harder, just because if she constantly goes through the same thing and you like make it worse, then you're not only just breaking up with her or like y'all not together no more, but now for the next guy that comes into her life, like, it's gonna be hard for her to bond. So I feel like a lot of guys don't think about that. We just think about the physical aspect, but we don't think about the mental of what happens when you like basically fuck with her. So to wrap things up, you could say where to find you on social media. Okay, so my socials are Instagram is gonna be 3_ Evie with 3 Y's and then 3_ after that. That's Instagram. Snapchat, it's Evie with 3 Y's, 824, and Facebook, Evie Stacks. Before we close out, make sure if you haven't copped Ree's book yet, Drugs of Love and Sex, I can go cop it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all that stuff. But until then, make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at _WeWantMore. Make sure to follow the Wonderful Shows page on Instagram and Twitter. It's TNTK Show. As always, thank you guys for watching the show. And that's all you need to know, period. Bye, guys.